Welcome to the World of Pets podcast. We will be having our special guest tonight, Debbie Hayes, who's our host and our sponsor at debspets.com. That's DEBSPETS.com. We are sponsored by Emily Gilmer at the World of Ability podcast. And without further ado, let's bring on Anthony, my co host, and Debbie, our wonderful originator.
I've been given a lot of nicknames, but the originator is probably the most creative I've ever heard for anybody.
That's okay. We'll work out the echo later.
Yeah, it's back. Oh, now it's gone again. Did we lose Debbie? So, folks, we're having some technical problems today.
There we go. All
Perfect.
right.
Welcome in, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me on the opposite side today,
Yeah.
on the presentation side. So tonight we're going to talk about mushrooms that can create immune support for both pets and humans. And we're also going to talk in general a little bit about the other products that do not have the mushrooms in them that come from debspets.com, which is actually my brand, but will take you to the company website. So, FYI, the vast majority of pet foods, the parent manufacturers are Colgate-Palmolive, M&M Mars, Nestle's, Smucker's. Of those four, one of the four dropped out. So there were three and there still are three. But they make over 90% of your pet food. So do you think as a pet owner that they really have the interest of your pet's health in the forefront? That's a question for you, obviously, to answer. And I'm going to tell you my story of how I started. I felt I was a good pet parent, and then I started going to a networking group with a representative from this company. And oh boy, I really got the guilt that going to the pet food store and buying the least expensive pet food was not in the best interest of my pet. And so I decided to try these products. Actually, the first month, I did not try the products that had the mushrooms in them, just ones that were made with good ingredients. They're human ingredients made in human grade kitchens. So you and I can eat them if we want. I do know some people that have tried them all. I choose not to be one of those myself, but it is possible and it will not hurt you. So, what makes the medicinal mushrooms different? We'll get to that in a minute. But first, as far as their versatility, there was a woman who had had 5 surgeries on her dog. The dog had gastrointestinal issues that kept coming back. She finally was introduced to this company, and she she said, "Okay, what should I be doing?" So the rep suggested that she try the mushrooms in the form of a dog biscuit. They're also available in a sauce that can go on top of the food. They're also available in freeze-dried form. So she started that, and good grief. In another month, the rep called her back. How are things going? And she said, I'm not planning on taking the dog in for the 6th surgery. I don't feel that that's going to be necessary. The dog is running around the backyard, has not had any further issues. Now, what can you do for my husband? And I guess I'm not sure if he really said this or not, but sometimes he says, so I asked her, did you want your husband taking dog biscuits? But the husband, this is no laughing matter. The husband had 6 liters of oxygen a day from long COVID. 6 liters.
Wow.
Obviously, he had no quality of life
No.
because he was in a wheelchair. Um, couldn't even, I don't think, get from his wheelchair to the toilet and back without assistance. And so there is, as I said, immune support for pets and humans. So there is a human version, human pills, and he started taking those. The great thing about the pills is that they're in capsule form for this particular mushroom. So if you're at the point where you figure, I will not absolutely take another pill, I don't care how much it's going to help me, but you can open it up and use the powder. And the same thing if you have some kind of an unusual pet that you would like to improve their immune system. You can give them, even though it's supposed to be the human version, you can give them that powder as well. Anyway, I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think I heard this clearly. After 1 week, he was down to 1 bottle of oxygen.
Wow.
1 week.
That is good.
And over a period of time, he started pushing his own wheelchair. Then he started going to the grocery store with her. Obviously improved his quality of life, all of their quality of life. She had let because she had help in the household. And she was able to let the help go and deal with his affinities herself. And then she goes, okay, how can you help me? Well, what's wrong with you? And she said, well, I have diabetes too. And I haven't been able to get my numbers in the positive range. So she started taking the mushroom. And she was able to get her numbers in the positive range. So I tell you, I like telling the story of this family because here's these 3 different problems that they had, and the body was allowed to heal itself from all of those. So it is the Coriolus versicolor mushroom, and it is in the turkey tail family. So I want to tell another story about a lady who is a representative of the company, saw one of the wives of one of her customers at the grocery store, asked how the husband was, and she said, well, the husband's numbers, and I'm not positive if the gentleman had cancer or what his issue was, but his numbers were really good, and then they're stopped being so good. They aren't so good right now. And the lady that's the rep said, well, I've noticed that you haven't been ordering our products lately. And she said, yeah, you know what? We saw turkey tail at the grocery store and we bought it. And so the rep said, okay, I'm sure she was quite polite, but she said, okay, do you see the irony of that you were using our products and he was getting the desired results, and you bought something else from the grocery store and was not getting the desired results. So she said, wow, you're right. I'm going to go home and order your products right away. But the point being that, yes, it is in the turkey tail family, but it is like the Cadillac or the Mercedes-Benz, if you will, of the turkey tail family.
Right, and they've got a proprietary way of extracting it too at just the right time.
Oh, golly. You're doing my talk for me there, David.
Sorry.
I love it.
That's why I keep muting.
No, that's fine. So David, do you have any comments? Anthony, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I guess just for viewers and everybody else to say, compared to, you talked about the dog food earlier, compared to like stuff you can get in the store, even if you get a higher brand that's healthier, you get it from like a specific place, cost comparative for this food that you're talking about, what is that compared to like kibble or other types of foods that you get from a grocery store or even the specialty store?
I did once run out between my orders, and I did have to go to. I went to the pet food store, not to the grocery store, and bought another and not bought another kind of pet food that was comparable. Is it going to be more expensive than the kibble, the kind that you're talking about? Probably, yes. But
How much
it,
more are we talking?
pardon me?
What do you think? Do you think it's going to be 10% more, 20% more?
Oh
I'm just
boy.
curious for folks that maybe
Yeah,
listen.
and I'm not sure. I really, I was so astounded by the results that I had that I really didn't
Yeah.
care, you know? Um, but it's, again, human grade food made in a human grade kitchen. Um, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the proprietary things that David was talking about. There is one big difference, and that is I used to go and buy, like, I don't know, 50-pound bag or whatever it was, the biggest bag. The largest bag that this comes in is 12 pounds. And the reason that it is 12 pounds is that because it doesn't have any preservatives in it, they don't want it to they don't want it to spoil. So they sell it in lesser quantities so that you'll go through it. We go through about, I have one dog, and I would say between a month and a month and a half for
Okay.
him.
Yeah. And I think, like you were saying, I think I buy like a 30 or 40-pound bag of food. I think I pay like 40 or 50 bucks for it. Lasts me about a month with my dog.
Yeah, this is not 40, this is less than 40 or $50. So if you, and again, you're gonna give him less food probably than what you're giving him from the big bag. The less
Yeah.
food is going to fill him up.
Cool.
Yep.
That makes
So,
sense. In the price
go ahead.
comparison that I did, looking at the ingredients, without the mushrooms, just the healthy dog food. When I was shopping with Peyton over at PetSmart, looking for the best quality stuff, the name brand that's really good quality is about the same as what ours is
Right.
per pound. It really is. So,
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So this strain that we use comes from Japan. Um, I will tell the story about the company starting, well, way before the company started out, actually. One of the founders' mothers had a catastrophic illness and was going to Sloan Kettering in New York. She did live back there. They removed part of one of her lungs, but then they told her she was good to go. But then in another few months, she had the same symptoms that she had initially. So when she went back, they said, "You have polyps on both lungs. There's nothing we can do for you. Just go home and enjoy your family. You probably have about 4 months to live." So her son was calling the relatives and telling them about the situation, and the, her nephew, his cousin, her son's cousin, in Japan, said, over here we have just had this remarkable results with this Coriolus versicolor mushroom. I'm going to send you some pills. Make sure that your mom takes them. So she started taking the pills and she started feeling better. And as with most people, she started thinking, oh gosh, it's just coincidence. I'm just imagining it. But time went on and she continued to feel better. The 4 months that Sloan Kettering had told her she had to live came and went. So finally she decided, well, I guess I better go back to Sloan Kettering and see what they say this time. So she went back and they sat her down afterwards at a table and looked at her and said, what have you been doing? And she said, well, you told me to enjoy my family and so forth, and I have been. No, 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 medically, what have you been doing? Oh, my nephew's been sending me these mushroom pills I've been taking. There was nothing else, there was nothing there to see. It was all gone. So she lived another, I don't know, 20, 30 years and died of something totally different. Um, so that's why years later it was her son and three of his friends sitting around and like, wow, my daughter lost her dog who was only 8. My cousin had a dog that died this last month. My friends, blah, blah, blah. And they did realize that maybe the pet food was not the highest quality. But one of them said, why don't we try giving that mushroom that your mother took, Simon, and put it in dog treats? And that's what they did. That's how the company started. So they were getting it from this strain in Japan. Now, I used to think that Japan, China were the only places that it grew. And I guess that's possible, but I always think King Tut is so fascinating. There was a vial in King Tut's tomb that had some Coriolus versicolor mushroom in it. So whether they grew it in Egypt or whether it was just, there because it had come the trade route, I don't know, obviously. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting sort of side note. But Japan and China are known to have the most potent of the strains. So the company still gets its products from Japan, the starters, but now it is grown here in the United States. As David said, the extraction method is proprietary, therefore I can't explain it because, of course, I'm not on a need-to-know basis, so I don't know about it. But it is something that has been shown to work. Going back to Sloan Kettering for just a minute, when that lady had her tests and they were clear, and she mentioned that she was taking that mushroom, they asked her to get all the information that she could about it and give it to them. And they did the first United States study. And now worldwide there have been 400 studies on that particular mushroom and the efficacy of it. And that includes healthcare professionals, hospitals, institutions of higher learning, and some organizations like the American Heart Association. So what are some of the other things that makes it special? Okay, the location on the plant. The part that grows above the ground. Emily, do you have that slide? I emailed you a slide. Anyway, the part that grows above the ground, it reminds me, Anthony, you live down here in southern Arizona, you'll appreciate this, it reminds me of the flamingo dancer skirts.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is the Coriolus versicolor mushroom. And the fruiting body is above the ground. The mycelia is below the ground, and the mycelia is the more potent of the two. So the part below ground is the part that is harvested by the company. Disadvantage in a way, the most potent is when the plant is young. So obviously with each plant you're not going to be able volume-wise to harvest as much because the plant is young. But obviously they want it to be as potent as possible, so that is what they use. Again, the harvesting method is proprietary. And I mentioned the environment. The Exxon Valdez oil spill in Alaska raised havoc up there, as anybody knows that remembers it or was alive then. At the very end, when they were cleaning up the beach and trying to get back to the way things were in nature before the oil spill, they actually put the Coriolus versicolor mushroom on the beach because it soaks in the toxins. So back 2,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago plus, they wouldn't have had this issue. But now, if we grew it out in the wild, just out in the open, that would really not do any good the for the mushroom or for the people taking the mushroom, because it would draw the toxins to it, and then you'd be ingesting the toxins. So for
Right.
that reason, what is grown in a controlled greenhouse type environment, so that it will um, keep it clean, so to speak. Another thing that's different about the um, Coriolus versicolor is that there are two polysaccharides. One of them is the polysaccharide peptide, and the other one is the polysaccharide crestin. And both of them have been certified medicinally in China and Japan, something that we cannot do here in the United States, because if it doesn't have anything that's a real medicine in it, then of
I
course
was going
the
to ask about
FDA won't approve it. What?
I was going to ask about that too, because of course we all know that there's something they do to mushrooms, kind of similar to like marijuana, right? Marijuana, when you add THC, it becomes a narcotic. Mushrooms have the same effect. So, what is the difference between like a mushroom that would be a narcotic or controlled medication and this?
That it won't. This won't get you high.
I know that. Is there a substance, a THC that's missing?
The I mean, I would say the polysaccharides. Yeah, there is no THC in here at all.
Okay.
So, yep. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here for a second.
But it's
Yeah.
not on the medication list in the United States.
Correct. It allows the body to heal itself. It is not claimed to heal anything.
Interesting.
That's the difference.
Immune booster.
So what other questions do you have? Comments? David, did you want to tell about Peyton and when you were giving him the mushroom, about you taking it? What?
Sure. Yeah, he was. I started him. I think he was about 14 or 15 when I got him on the mush puppies. And back then he had teeth. But they're still a little bit hard, so I'd break them up for him, and he'd eat them then. And then when they got too hard, I'd soak them. And then when he stopped wanting the mush in his water, then I started doing the tablets in his water, just the human tablets. A lot of his bumps went down, and his eyes started to clear up a little bit with this cataract. So, I mean, he saw a lot of really good, I mean, his fur was super soft. So, yeah, it really gave him benefits at his old age, that's for sure.
Yep. There are, in addition to the Coriolus for the immune system, there are some other people products, and there's for the brain and nerve. There's for the soft organs, like the pancreas, the kidney, and the liver. And then, oh man, I'm sorry to say that the most recent one, I can't tell you the name, and I can't tell you what it works on. I have not used it, but my dog is having some issues. He had a little lump on his snout, and we took him in, and it was an abscess tooth. But it turned out that I've never brushed a dog's teeth in my life, but for some reason with him, his teeth were not in good shape at all. And so they gave him an antibiotic, and they did blood work, luckily, because it came back that he has valley fever. Anthony's shaking his head, yes, I know, because he lives in southern Arizona. But for places where we have a lot of dirt around, valley fever it can be fatal. Um, Animals and humans can get it, but it's a spore that grows in the dirt. So the dogs go around or pets go around and play in the dirt, and that's when they inhale it and get sick. So he's got that. He's got the medicine for that. But the and so because of that, or I think because of that, his kidneys were not operating 100% according to the blood work. So I started giving him, and it is a capsule, but I put it in. He eats a half of one of those pills once a day. The other thing is this is this is hard for me to talk about even. One night I just heard this awful, you know, I don't know whether to call it a pop or whatever, but I knew that he hit his head against the wall. And he had to have been in the stairwell because he did get down to the living room quickly before I could get up and try to figure out what happened. But his body was just contorted. It was horrible. And then he was like, when he got that straightened out, which he did in like just a few minutes, he was walking around like a drunken sailor. He was having a hard time when he went out in the yard being acclimated as to where the door was even. And so I know that he had a concussion. And of course, even with people, they don't do anything for concussions. That dog, I stayed down here with him. He paced for 2.5 hours after that. He finally went to bed. Anyway, the nerve and brain pill, I've been giving him a half in the morning and a half at night, along with the other stuff that he's getting, and I feel like he is doing better. I mean, definitely the acclimation to coming inside and stuff like that, that was rectified early on. But he still does pace some. Right now he's probably pacing because he wants me to give him more food. I gave him just a little bit before so that he wouldn't be bugging me too much. Anyway, so so that's his story. So I think the products have done very well for him. And you can always message me from debspets.com. There's more information if you go to the Great Discovery under Creators and just look up Debbie Hayes. You can find some things about mushrooms just in general. And then there is a course that costs $4.99 that does go into more detail about the Coriolus versicolor mushroom. So it would include what I just told you, but also some other, more detail. So, appreciate your time. Do you have any more questions?
Very good.
Or comments?
I think Michelangelo used to get mushrooms on his pizza on the Ninja Turtles.
On what?
On the Ninja Turtles, Michelangelo, the party guy. I think he used to get mushrooms on his pizza.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Yep.
Anthony, do you want to tell us what you're doing with your nonprofit work? I hear you got some progress coming up and a new guest next week.
I have a new guest.
No, I do. Go ahead.
Oh, next week we've got, I think Sabrina Morris is coming next week, isn't she? We're doing her mushroom stories. Mush.
That's correct. That is correct.
I might even do some mashed potatoes for that day because we're all mushing. But anyway, were you asking me? I was confused.
Yeah, so Sabrina Morris is going to be next week. I think, David, what you're talking about is I was asking about inviting Scott Tully back. Remember, he's the one that was on before that has the, he deals mostly with autistic children and their ranch, which is mostly horses, but he did say that as far as projectdiehard.com, that when we start the breakfast, that we could work some of the veterans over there to get some support from the equine therapy that they offer.
Yeah. And we need to have a meeting.
I was asking about inviting him back for 2 weeks. So I have not done that yet, but I will.
Definitely.
That reminds me, I'll text you, Debbie. We need to have a meeting of Die Hard. We haven't done it in a while.
Yes, we do have to.
Awesome. Yeah, I am still waiting to hear back from the Pima Animal Care Center. I sent them an email asking them, is there just anybody that could come on our podcast and just do, 35, 40 minutes with us, talking about the need, especially here in Arizona, but from what they know nationwide of adopting animals, getting some of these animals in off the street. So hopefully I hear back from them.
All right, and we will be setting up, because Project Die Hard is having their annual fundraiser. So we will have a virtual can, I believe, starting tomorrow. So if people would like to donate to Project Die Hard, and just a brief summary. I know some people have heard it again and again, but Project Die Hard's been around since 2018. They do have a 20-acre parcel with a building on it. And ultimately, they would like to be able to house 2 families and either 6 or 8 individual veterans that need help for up to a year as far as housing, do some job training, if possible on site, or get partners to work on that. They also do, and what we were talking about doing here in Tucson, is a breakfast once a month that free for the veterans. And so that's something that we're waiting for the go-ahead from the home office, which is where the 20-acre parcel is. But we would like to have another. We sort of have our planning meetings here on Tuesday nights sometimes, and get Scott Tilley involved. And I've got another gal that's helping us out now, Anthony. So.
Yeah, let me know. I want to get in on it. We had talked about going out there, and now that I'm through everything, we need to have that discussion again.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Emily, thanks for hosting once again. Again, go to debspets.com. Go find Emily Gomer over on World of Ability podcast on YouTube. And you'll see you next Tuesday. God bless you all. And by the way, Anthony, you always have a good tagline on the way out.
Yes. June, I guess, is also Men's Mental Health Month. So in addition to that, as always, I want to remind everybody, our friends, our viewers, whether veteran or not, man or not, that we would rather talk to you and have a 3 a.m. conversation than to hear about you on the news the next morning or a couple hours. So please, if you need to talk, send us a message the page. We'll give you our information. We'll let you reach out. We love you, and you're worth having a conversation.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yes, and to all the service people out there, thank you for your service.
All right. God bless you all.
Yes.